I'm so excited to talk about Evil Dead Rise, and if you are a fan of horror and this franchise, you should be excited too. Hi, my name's Stu and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. Yes, I'm not the biggest Evil Dead fan, so I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I've generally seen all of the films, yes, and generally enjoy it. So I think it's great where we have a series that is not just full-on horror that leans into comedy, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. And it's really exciting to see that after all these decades we have something really new in the Evil Dead franchise, where we don't have Ash, as the main character, we don't have Bruce Campbell attached, although I saw, while, briefly researching for this video, I saw that actually Bruce Campbell has a tiny cameo voice role in this film. If you're not sure where it was, I didn't recognise him either. We hear a sort of phonograph recording from the 1920s, and he is one of the voices that appear on that. So, slight spoiler I suppose, but like I said, I didn't even realise it was him. But apart from that, we don't have any connections to him, and I'm not saying that's something that we need, but it's great to see that even without that big connection, the film can still be successful and it can still be good, because franchises often, they are a bit wary of straying from their typical formula or things that they feel are imperative for the franchise's success. And with Evil Dead, you could easily be inclined to think that that is Bruce Campbell. Now, I know there was a 2013 remake, where he also wasn't Ash in that sense. Yeah, I mean, we've already seen that as well. But, this is a really new story. Obviously, the 2013 one, you could make the argument that it is a remake, so, the story is still the original one. So this is the first time we have a really new story with new characters, and it's really exciting, and I'm very happy about it. One really weird thing that I want to talk about before we actually get into it is, it's mind-blowing to me that Warner Brothers, they first wanted to release this only on HBO Max, so only on their streaming service. But after they had some positive test screenings for audiences, they decided to put it in the cinema, and wow, what a brilliant decision that was. I'm sure whoever made this decision right now is really patting themselves on the shoulder, because this film only cost like about $15 million, and I'm recording this basically a week after release, and it's already made something like $85 million. So this thing is hugely profitable. And rightly so, it's well deserved, and I'm happy, because I'm really happy. I hope that many studios will, be more, I mean, this isn't even a big risk. $50 million nowadays is nothing, but still, horror is always this genre. It can be a bit hit or miss, but I really want studios to support these kind of films a lot more, because they're just so much fun. We need more of them. Right. Let's get into Evil Dead Rise, shall we? Just to briefly talk about the plot. If you'll have seen a trailer or even just the poster, this will not hit you as a big spoiler. I mean, it is, I suppose, a spoiler, but again, like I say, if you've seen at least the poster or just a wee snippet of the trailer, then you will know this already. But we are focused on a family. We have a mother. She is played by Alyssa Sutherland. She's got 3 children. 2 of them were sort of teenagers, or maybe just young adults, not quite sure. I don't think it's ever specified how old they actually are. And one girl, she is actually a child, I would say, about maybe 10 years old, something like that, 10, 11-ish. Yeah, and so Alyssa Sutherland's character, her sister, comes to visit, and she is played by Lily Sullivan. And if you're familiar with the franchise, you will know what kind of happens. The family comes upon a Book of the Dead, which is the main instrument in the whole series. Passages from it are read, and then evil spirits, the so-called Deadites, are summoned. And they take a hold of Alyssa Sutherland's character, so the mother. And this is the spoiler that I was referring to a minute ago. So yeah, she is being possessed, but like I say, it's all over the promotional material. That's actually also what drew me to this. Like, okay, this is interesting, a mother and a family, and that immediately puts you in an interesting position where you're kind of worried because, I was going to get into some of the other stuff. Let's talk about the story first. Sorry, let's finish off that. So yes, so she gets possessed. They live in this apartment building, and during this sort of whole possession act, One of its side effects is a huge earthquake, and the building actually, it gets shaken around quite a lot. It's now very, very well, nearly prone to fall apart, you could say. But we've got various things like the elevator doesn't work, and even the stairs, they're partially broken, so they, for the time being, can't get out. And at the same time, the rest of the family is discovering that the mother's been possessed. And how do we get out of this situation? Now, if you're not familiar with the Deadites and you're new to the Evil Dead franchise, I find them quite fascinating because they're not just simple demons, but it's really kind of cool how they are. Well, they don't care really about humans. So it's not that they're evil, they just want to cause chaos and havoc, and they just think it's all funny and hilarious, to them. So that is quite an interesting position to have, because, they just don't care what happens to the people, and that really causes, it gives you some really interesting scenes where they do really, really horrific things, and oh God, this is actually quite terrible, but to them, it's all just fun and games. So we see this battle of the family against the mother, and I am obviously not going to spoil for you how that goes and what happens. I just want to say with the story that at several times in the whole plot, they actually subverted my expectations. So you can tell because I know that that's not just me, because I was sort of comparing notes after the film with my brother, and we kind of had the same thoughts, thinking along the same lines. So it tells me that the writers intentionally, writer and director, by the way, Lee Cronin, he intentionally crafted the story to lead you astray, to make you think this is how it's going to go, because I'll just put it this way, with a family and particular children, you do expect things to go in a certain way, that's all I'll say. But they don't, and that was really good, and I really like how my expectations were subverted. Again, I'm not going to spoil it, but just that took me really by surprise, and up to the end, it is a really solid story. The film is only 97 minutes long, so it's really short, but it's incredible what they do in this whole runtime. Not a second is wasted. We're constantly just glued to the screen, I felt. There's always interesting things that happen, and you care so much about this story, and this is what was also done really well, because in the short setup we get to know this family, and immediately we actually care about them, because we see the family unit, and they're all very likable, and their chemistry as a family is just brilliant. And so you immediately, you feel for them, like, oh God, the mother's possessed, and how is this going to go, and what's going to happen, and do they get her back, and all these kind of questions that pop up in your mind. And then they do things with the story. So yeah, the story is really good, but it's generally very well made. So Lee Cronin not only wrote a great story, but also shot it really well. There's some shots in this that look just wonderful. There's quite a few. I don't want to name any to not spoil any scenes or expectations you have where you're there. Oh, this will come now, so I won't describe any, but really, really cool shots. The atmosphere is great, and the balance of horror and comedy is near perfect. We've got some comedy things in here, and they are quite tongue-in-cheek at times, like we expect with the Evil Dead, but they are still done incredibly fitting in certain scenes, and it doesn't feel distasteful, or it doesn't kind of lessen the impact of scenes. I'm thinking here along the lines of Marvel one-liners, that we had in the past, which would really take you out of the scene. So even when some of the jokes are kind of goofy or something like that, they're just so well placed and kept small enough to really not distract you from the scene, and they just fit so well. So we've got definitely a lot less humour than, let's say, if you're expecting Army of Darkness. This is completely different. Just a really good balance. I will say, if you enjoy horror, but you're like, I don't want the too gruesome films, I didn't feel like this was too gruesome. I was actually expecting it to be bloodier, to be more gory, all these kind of things. It wasn't, so that was quite interesting. So they definitely toned down that a bit. I mean, although there's a slight spoiler, an interesting homage to The Shining, which definitely fills the meter. On the horror scale. Anyway, it's overall a really well crafted package. I like the actors, all of them in here, really
yeah, deliver great performances. It's really cool. I wish more people would actually pay attention to the horror genre because of this, because we've got some really great stories and character interactions in this genre, and it's often overlooked because people understandably don't want to be scared, or less understandably think it's all trashy, and all these things. If you're not sure about the horror genre, I'd say give it a try, because there are some really cool and unique stories that you can only tell in a horror setting. Yeah, so overall it's a really great film. I enjoyed it so much. I'd love to watch it again. I'll definitely be buying a Blu-ray at some point. Really curious to see how they're going to continue in this franchise, because I like a lot of what I saw here, and they deserve all the success that they are currently having. As I said, this film is already profitable within just its first week. I mean, that's really great. So yeah, I hope it keeps going, and word of mouth spreads even more. I mean, it's got a bit of difficulties with Guardians of the Galaxy coming up, but still, that's obviously for a different audience, so who knows. Fingers crossed they'll make even more money, because I definitely want to see more from the Evil Dead franchise. You've got cool callbacks within the film as well, and Easter eggs and these kind of things. I enjoyed the whole thing. Acted well, shot well, really truly beautiful shots in here, which sounds a bit weird, and we've got just this claustrophobic apartment building, but you've got some really cool shots in this too. So if you're looking for a horror film to see, go and watch Evil Dead Rise. That'll be all from me today. I'll thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below if you're an Evil Dead franchise fan. How does this, in your opinion, hold up to the rest of them? Did you enjoy it? Do you want more goofy stuff? What is your opinion? Or have you got other recommendations even? Anything either around the Evil Dead franchise. As I said, I'm not really one of these super fans, so there might be things out there that I am not familiar with. But if you've got recommendations for other horror films, please put them down in the comments as well. I'll thank you again for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one on Flying Wiener. Take care. Bye.